Welcome. My name is Sherry Young. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Year in Review, RiverWoods Durham today. If we go to the next slide, you're going to see a picture of, or first, we'll talk about a couple of housekeeping notes. All of our viewers are muted today, but we welcome your questions. So please use Q&A that's located at the bottom of your screen. And we will get to questions after the presentation. We also appreciate your suggestions. So if you have any thoughts on future presentations that we can bring to you over Zoom, please share that as well. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. As I said, we are coming to you live from RiverWoods Durham. RiverWoods has been a leader in redefining retirement for over 25 years. 2 years ago, RiverWoods Durham opened and became the newest member of the family. RiverWoods Durham is a CCRC, which is a continuing care retirement community, also known as a life plan community, where active, independent adults find community, purpose, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing where excellent healthcare will be provided if and when you need it. Our campus that you're looking at here, located alongside the Oyster River in beautiful Durham, New Hampshire, includes 150 independent living homes featuring 7 apartment styles, different floor plans, all with fully appliance kitchens, and of course, a supportive living center, which features assisted living, memory support, and nursing care. Our community includes varied dining options, a fitness center, wellness clinic, library, cultural, social, educational activities, a wood shop, walking trails, and we are just 1.5 miles from the University of New Hampshire campus. We are so happy you've joined us today, and it is now my pleasure to welcome Executive Director Kim O'Keefe. And she is going to share with us a look over the past year and a look ahead for what's next at RiverWoods Durham. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce to all of you, Kim O'Keefe.
Thank you so much, Sherry. We did this presentation last year after completing our first year of being open. So this is even more exciting now to have made it yet another year. And certainly in a year that, as you all know, with COVID, it was another, it could have been another challenging year, but I think and hope what you'll see over the next hour is really how community was more vibrant than ever. And we are really celebrating today the strength of our community and our residents and what we've built over the past couple of years. So just to kind of quickly give you an update and some statistics on where we are. When we closed out our fiscal year, June 30th, we had 100% independent living occupancy. So all 150 of our apartments were full here. We are currently today at 99% occupancy, and that makes up for us about 227 independent living residents. And when we get talking about healthcare, which we call supportive living or newfound lodge, we have about 49 healthcare residents right now. And I know some of you are already on our wait list or you are hoping to join our wait list. And so right now we have about 103 members on that wait list who are waiting for their opportunity to move home to RiverWoods Durham. As Sherry mentioned, not only do we have a whole host of different activities and interest arenas for our residents, we have a multitude of departments for staff, from dining, nursing, wellness, fitness, administration, housekeeping, you name it, we kind of have it here. And we have right now roughly about 188 employees. It has been an amazing year for us. I'll talk a little bit in this. Throughout the past year, we fully opened our health center too. So we'll kind of talk some staffing there and get more into that. But I thought we'd start from really where we ended last year when we were celebrating our first birthday and kind of go through the 12 months to where we are today. So we did have an anniversary party last November to celebrate being 1. We had a live band who played, and because it was still heavy COVID times and we were really focused on the safety of our community, we have technology here that allowed us to have a band in our great room. We call it Tremont Place, and we were able to live stream that into residents' homes. They could watch it right on their TV or on YouTube, so that we could all be celebrating together, even though we needed to still stay a little distanced. So one of the things you'll kind of notice throughout this presentation is how the year started with us still really heavily masking, being distanced, and how some of that has eased up as our community became fully vaccinated. So this was in mid-November, and then we got into Thanksgiving. We were very fortunate and that we were able to host Thanksgiving here in the community and open up dining. Dining had not been open at this point, again, with some of those restrictions that we had in place for safety. But for Thanksgiving, we very carefully allowed our residents to dine within our spaces again. So this was a very joyous celebration for both the staff and the residents. I think it was a day full of thanks and gratitude and reflection. Our dining team prepared an excellent meal, and it was just fantastic to be able to celebrate in person with one another. As we moved into the Christmas and Hanukkah season, this was an example of the holiday card that we sent out, a sort of social distancing holiday. At this point, case counts in our county were a little bit higher heading into the holidays. So we kept things, we had a small, at-home holiday, but our residents were still able to participate. We had a beautiful meal that was eaten from the comfort of their apartments, and we still really, strove to make that a memorable day and experience. We then moved also in December, and this is something that I'm incredibly fortunate that our residents participate in. This is a longstanding RiverWoods tradition that each community has what's called an employee appreciation committee. So we employ, like I said, quite a few staff members here. And part of our model is that we do not allow our staff to receive tips or gratuities or gifts from our residents. But residents are frequently asking us, but how can we give back? How can we thank your team? And this is one way. So residents can donate all year long into an appreciation fund. That's done through a variety of ways. Some folks will tag that on to their monthly service fee. Others will make a one-time donation. And the committee actually does several fundraising events as well. What that does is it allows the committee to raise as much money as they can. And then at the beginning of December, those funds are dispersed out to all employees below a director level. It's based on if they're full-time or part-time and the total weeks of service throughout the past year. But last year we raised roughly $60,000, and that gave every full-time employee about $570. It is a one-time gift that comes right before the holidays, and it is really so well appreciated from our employees. And it's a way for the employees and our residents to just come together. The committee has been working very hard again to raise funds for this year, and they're hosting an upcoming gala event on November 4th with a silent and a live auction. So this is just one way too that when we go to disperse those funds, it will be a resident and employee event together, kind of celebrating in what we've all done as a community. When we moved forward and looked at the start of the year, it would be hard to not pause and reflect back. So this is one of the sentiments from one of our residents that really talks about community. So that sense of community during the pandemic was incredible. We didn't feel alone. I would be calling my family. They'd be wondering what was going on, but it was a sense of relief for them that we were given our vaccinations here, that we were well taken care of, and how lucky we are. The next line in this, if we were living elsewhere on our own, we wouldn't really have that proximity. That was definitely a theme that we heard over and over again over the past year, is just how fortunate our residents really felt to be living here in community. Everything was taken care of for our residents, whether it was grocery shopping or still planning events, having someone to eat dinner with, being able to walk down the hallway and get your vaccination. No matter what it was, that is one of the strengths of our community, is just being in this together and being well cared for. It's just some examples of, some of our staff and our residents interacting, and that heart in the upper left-hand corner. Those were some moments, residents would just leave us notes, saying how grateful they were or how appreciative. And that really goes a long way and helps strengthen that bond between staff and our residents here. Heading into January and February, we were able to have our vaccination clinics right on site. This was an enormous benefit for our residents, and it was exciting for our team members too. We worked with CVS and we had several clinic dates where they came right on site. And we wanted to make it a little fun, a day that could have been a little nerve-wracking about getting a shot or what that would look like. We turned it into a joyful event. So the first clinic we had was right around Mardi Gras. So we had a Mardi Gras themed event. And then when we did the second vaccination shots, we did sort of a beach party. It's just a way for residents to come down and have a little bit of fun in something that had felt so heavy for so long. But we have almost 100% resident adoption for our vaccination. Some folks, whether it's employees or residents, may have had a medical reason why they couldn't get the vaccine, but we are so pleased with the success rate that we've had. And I'm sure that you've received some communication from our marketing team, but as of October 15th, so just last week, we are requiring that all visitors, everyone has their vaccine. So we can say that we are, fully vaccinated community here. Another sort of testimony from one of our residents feeling remarkably safe, secure, and well cared for. And really, from my perspective, these are the things that I love hearing. That is why we do what we do, is to provide, like Sherry said in the beginning, that opportunity for community, purpose, and peace of mind. And those were, again, really central themes over the past year. In March, we reached what we called our Immunity Day. So that was when all of our residents had received their second shot plus 14 days. And March really was a turning point for us. As you can see here, the masks are off. People, for the first time in a year at this point, were really mingling without masks. We had a handful of residents who had moved in during the early days of the pandemic, finally really getting to see people's faces. So for both staff and residents, this was an exciting day that really felt like a turning point for us to just start thinking about, how do we open things back up? How do we become just more normalized again, now that that intense pressure is kind of waning a little bit? So the start of spring, this was a good month for us. In April, one of our big resident events that we hope to continue on an annual basis is sort of our spring fling. We love partnering with different DJs or bands to come in. We have a very active crowd of residents who do enjoy a good dance party or just being able to listen to music. So this is one of our celebrations early on, post that Immunity Day. And then the spring and summer, really, again, that showed us opening up a lot more, and it allowed for more offsite trips. It allowed for more in-person meetings. It allowed for family members and guests and visitors to come back on site and actually visit with their loved ones here at their home. So really some exciting times. You see, we did a yoga on the beach event. That's part of our fitness program. The picture in the middle is our resident council. And that is a group of 12 of our residents who kind of represent the entire community. We've celebrated birthdays and anniversaries and a whole host of things. So the summer was really lively and active for us, and really just allowed all of our residents to get a taste of finding an interest or an activity or an event that they wanted to be a part of. And I'll talk more about that when we get into some resident events. We also continued on with a second tradition. We've called it the Concert of Hope. This is something that had started in 2020, and we brought it back again this year. And what I love about this is that picture on the right of our residents. We now have a fully formed chorus, and we have a chorus committee here. So we have a number of our residents very passionate about music and singing. And we have a fantastic music director and accompanist. Her name is Mary Doan. I know a lot of people from the area know of her. And so she comes on site a couple of times a week. And we've been doing these mini concert series. So she'll usually do a 12-week session and work with them and then put on a concert. This event is sort of near and dear to my heart. We started this, like I said, in the middle of 2020. And again, I love those opportunities to cross mingle our residents and our employees. So on the left, you see some of our staff performing. Then we have our residents. We did some numbers together, and it's just that coming together all towards one common goal. So this is a very uplifting night, and something that I know our residents and our staff are going to look forward to on an annual basis. This one is also very near and dear. We had our first love story and wedding here at RiverWoods Durham. So this is Paul and Julia, and they have given us complete permission to share their story. But they were our first wedding on site here, and they had been together for some time, and they initially wanted to get married closer to the beginning of 2020, but then they put that off, and they specifically waited for a time that their friends and family could come on site and celebrate with them. So I love this story. They worked with our dining department. They had a whole catered meal and basically a reception here inside of the community. We have a few other stories that are like that of residents who have found love while here. And that's part of that connection too, and just purpose and being open to new opportunities and experiences. So congratulations to Paul and Julia. This is very exciting that we could share their story too. These are just a few other snapshots of some things that happened over the summer. We had a dog parade, we had a cornhole tournament, all completely organized by our residents. We had a pride parade. The upper right-hand corner, we have several live music events here that happen. And whether those happen outside or inside of our great room, those are usually always very, very well attended. We have an active events committee here. They planned out the entire year. I think they have a 4-page events calendar of things like music, of games and activities, of offsite trips. So really, when we talk about our community being resident driven, we mean that. It is coming from our residents to suggest and help organize these trips and these activities, and really be a say in how they want to live in community and what that looks like. So these are just some small examples, but there are 100 more, in any given month that residents can take part in. This is another sort of testimonial from one of our residents, Catherine. She really she's talking about the services and the amenities that they still had. And those may have looked slightly different during COVID or as we're coming out of this. But really, it's showing that we were here for those residents, and we were committed to providing activities, committed to providing that high level of service and all of those amenities and things that are included in their monthly service fees. She makes a special note of the walk-in clinic here, and that is an enormous asset to us. We have an on-site wellness clinic that is staffed by our nurse practitioner and a wellness nurse. So our residents can go down there if they're not feeling well. Maybe they need to have their weight checked every day, or blood pressure checked, or need some help understanding a medication, need some recommendation or guidance or a liaison to help follow up with their primary care doctor. And that service is right here in the community. For us, that also meant that as people weren't feeling well, we had the ability to test them right on site. So we have options to do rapid COVID tests, rapid flu tests, so that our residents don't have to wait for results. They can walk down the hall, be seen, be heard, be cared for, and then know a next course of action. So we are very fortunate with that too. And also, I'm super proud to say we have not had, over the past year, we have not had a single independent living resident test positive for COVID-19. So we have been committed to trying to keep that out of our community as much as we possibly can. Fitness is another really big area here in the community, and it's something that our residents are passionate about. And what I love is that there are offerings for every different level of fitness interest or ability. These are some examples from a few of our offsite trips. So a group of residents did go locally to play some pickleball. And then we also had an offsite event, Seek the Peak. Residents will sometimes gather on their own and go for a hiking trip or a kayaking trip. We're just surrounded by opportunities, in the area that we live, with so many mountains near us, rivers, lakes. So we really try to foster that sense of activity here. Mike Belanger is our fitness manager. We have a team under him, so we offer yoga and Pilates and strength and balance classes, and kind of a whole host of different options every day that residents can participate in. This is sort of just an example of the classes that were going on this week alone. So you see we have that strength and balance. We have strength and balance with some added cardio. We have a special group that is a Parkinson's fitness group, so that focuses more on some mobility. We do some breath work, so more of a gentle yoga. We have chair yoga on here. So you can really see that there is a wide variety here. Aside from just classes, if classes aren't your thing, the gym is open 24/7 for resident use too. So we have cardio, we have strength training and weights. And the fitness center does get quite a bit of use here, and always looking for more ways to sort of expand. One of the things coming up is Mike is exploring how do we expand our fitness more outdoors, some more outdoor adventure groups, outdoor equipment. So we're very much focused on that too, and growing and developing that program. When we got to August of this past year, that celebrated the 1-year opening of our health center. So again, we call it Newfound Lodge or supportive living here. And this has been an interesting ride for us because we opened, and by the time that we were opening, we were really in the middle of COVID in August of 2020. So we were very careful and cautious about how we opened that part of our community, because typically that is our most vulnerable residents. But we were able to open the first floor first. That is our memory support floor. And then we opened our 3rd and 4th floors, which are traditional assisted living. We consciously made the decision to not open our 2nd floor for a number of reasons, but I am very proud to report that that is opening on Monday. We'll talk a little bit I know there were some questions already submitted around staffing and if we're experiencing the same staffing challenges that the world is. Yes, we are. So part of that was staffing, but also part of it was just scale and making sure that we were keeping a safe space open and available should anything have happened with a COVID outbreak. I'm again very pleased to report that that did not happen. And now we're getting ready to open that part of our community too. The picture that you see on the screen here, this was a group of residents who homemade these homemade quilts for our residents in supportive living. So it was a group of our independent living residents who made a quilt for every single resident there. This was the day that they were all finished and they were being brought over. One thing that we're really passionate about too is making sure that our community understands that we are one community. We are not a community of independent residents and a community of healthcare residents. We're one RiverWoods Durham. And we are, move freely throughout. We have opportunities and activities in both parts of our community so that all of our residents are really involved here. I want to kind of touch on some financial updates too. We are financially very strong. We had a clean year-end audit, no weaknesses, no deficiencies. The last bullet point there is about paying back a loan. So most of you probably don't know that when we were initially going through construction, we borrowed $12 million from our original campus, RiverWoods Exeter, as part of our financing. That was not scheduled to be paid back until likely 4 to 5 years after opening. But the financial success of RiverWoods Durham allowed us to completely pay back that $12 million 3 years ahead of schedule. So at this point, all of our short-term debt, which is about $34 million, has been paid off. And that $12 million loan to RiverWoods Exeter has also been paid off. The notes at the top, in September, we completed a financial refinancing. So RiverWoods Durham was financed using 3 different banks. And that was great. It kept us out of the bond market. It was a much more financially viable option for us. But then we were looking to how can we, consolidate this and see what is a better deal out there. So Kevin Goyette, who is our CFO, he was the driving force behind this and was able to secure us a 2.13% rate that we were able to lock in for 15 years. And that brought us a savings of $9 million. So this was some really exciting news for the community. Our residents here were very pleased with that. And all of that was finalized on September 30th. So, in a world where everything sometimes has seemed uncertain over the past year, one thing that we have been very certain of and expressed to our residents is how financially secure and stable we are here. This just happened earlier this week. We're into October. We had our booster clinic on site. So all of our residents did receive the Pfizer vaccine, and now this was readily available for us to provide booster shots. So we held the clinic right on site on Tuesday of this week, and we're able to get all of our residents and our team members vaccinated with that third shot. It was also kind of exciting, I think, for our clinical team, because this time around, they were the ones administering the shots. So it just felt, again, a sense of community of we're doing this together, we're able to provide you this. And it was really an incredible day. This is another resident testimonial from one of our residents, Deb, and just talking about the access and the ability that our residents have to be involved here. There's different music groups, and they participate in concerts and fitness classes, going to the bistro in the morning to have coffee with friends. I was chatting with a resident last week and just saying, every time he steps out of his apartment, there's always someone there. And how comforting that is, because if he was still living in his home, he wouldn't experience that. I had another resident who came to talk to me last week, and she had been living off site for the summer. She had a summer home. She had moved there for the summer. And she said, I wasn't sure what it would be like when I came back, because I left in May and now it's been 6 months. And I just wasn't sure. I had some anxiety about coming back. And she said, but the minute I walked in, she goes, people were just saying hello to each other in the hall and inviting me to dinner. And she said, and any kind of fear I had about coming back was really wiped away, because this is my home and people want me to be here and they're happy to be here. So that was really comforting to hear too. I love knowing that that is how our residents feel. These are some examples of some committees and interest groups, those things to be involved in. We're hosting an activity expo next week for our residents, and there'll be representation for all of these committees and interest groups there. Sometimes people move in and they might not be ready to fully get involved just yet. We also have some residents who move in and that day they want to know how they can sign up to be on the library committee or how they can get involved with the French club. So whatever your personal level of interest in getting involved is, we always make sure that we try to rinse, lather, and repeat to get you that information. So this expo will be an opportunity for all of our residents to come and walk through, talk to the different chairs and representatives from these groups, get some more information, and sign up if they want to be a part of it, or just walk away with some more information. But all of these are completely resident run and resident driven. These have been ideas from our residents and they have formed on their own. So it's really neat to see all of the activity that's going on within the community. This is another example. This is just a quick snapshot of this week alone, some of the events and activities. So we have an online resident engagement portal. It's called Vibrant. So when you move in here, all of our residents get logged onto Vibrant. And this is how you can go on, and it's a resource guide, but it also provides you access to this digital calendar. There are certain events that you need to sign up for, so you can just submit your RSVP right here, and you can look a week ahead, a month ahead, just at a day view. But it just kind of gives you that sense of how much we have going on here too. One of the interest groups and committees that was listed on the previous slide was our resident newsletter. So this was started by our residents. It's called River Run. And this is put out monthly, and it really focuses on a variety of topics and news. Residents will interview other residents. They will share upcoming events. They'll interview some people to talk about what they did, professionally in their past life. So it's a fun way for our residents to get to know each other, and the staff loves this too. In one of the last subscriptions of it, I learned how many of our residents had run marathons, or how many had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro or done all of the major peaks in New Hampshire. So there's some really great information here, and it's just another community building way for our residents to get to know one another. Another testimonial here. This is from Kurt. Kurt is a member of our finance committee as well as our resident council. And here's where he kind of talks about what it's been like to just be able to go to the dining room and have dinner with different residents. It's that social aspect that you experience every day. I can't emphasize that enough, and I can't imagine being isolated in a home all by myself. And this last part I love too. The vaccine was readily available to us. 225 people came together and understood the significance of it. We're all in this together, and it was a special time. So we have a phrase here at Durham, and we say all in. We're all in for RiverWoods Durham, and we're all in this together. And that has been sort of the foundation between our staff and our residents. We've experienced some hard times living through a global pandemic in a community that was brand new. But the reminder is we're always all in this together. So this has been really a good reminder too. Just some more snapshots. This one with the musical group. These are the River Ramblers. That is a resident run music group with a whole lot of instruments and talents. The woman in the middle with the ukulele, I always like to share her story. She did not know how to play the ukulele, and she moved in. She was one of our first move-ins, and she bought herself a ukulele for Christmas that year. And she was just determined that she was going to learn how to play it because she wanted to be a part of something with this group and with others. So she's kind of self-taught and gotten a lot of help and guidance from this group. And now she's a really active member of that. So that's just another example of people move in here and they try things that they've never tried before, but they're in a supportive community that really allows the opportunity to foster those interests. A dining shot. So on a busy night when dining is full, that's what it's going to look like. You have full tables full of residents coming together and eating. And then this last picture was from a recent whale watch that our residents went on. So I know that I'll touch a little bit on the staffing, since I know that that was a question that was asked. You know, have any of you driven anywhere recently and not seen a help wanted sign? We are in sort of a global staffing crisis. It's been called the Great Resignation, and certainly our industry has been impacted by that. And that's been a major focus of all of our communities. But we have found creative ways to work through that. So a great example that I can give you is we started to be a little bit short in our dining staff, and we wanted to be able to get our dining rooms back up and running and open for our residents. For so long, we had been in sort of a takeout model, and we wanted to get that picture back where people are sitting around a table socializing together. And we just got to a point where either we had some of our high school students were going off to college, or the start of a new school year and they're playing sports. So we were hurting for some numbers there. But really what wound up happening is we put a call out to the entire community. We said, who wants to come work in dining? We're all in this together. Let's figure this out. Residents, do you want to volunteer to do some odd jobs in dining, whether it's handing out a dessert or rolling up some silverware, whatever it may be? And the community all came together. We have had over 25 employees from all different departments, even nursing, housekeeping, facilities, administration, pitching in to provide a buffet dinner service 2 nights a week and on Sundays for brunch. And we've had over 50 resident volunteers saying, how can I help? I'll do whatever you need. Please put me in. I want to help. So that, again, that's such a reflection of this community that we have, that everyone is in this together for the greater good of our residents and what we need to accomplish. From a nursing perspective, we've been in the same boat as any hospital or any other CCRC, where we're all in competition with one another for LNAs, for nurses. So we really, as an organization, we took a long, hard look at what our wages were, knowing that that was a factor. And in September, we implemented a minimum wage increase. We previously had positions starting at $10 an hour. We have now raised that up. Our minimum wage across all of our communities, entry level, is $15. We then looked at internal compression there to make sure that we were paying our teams appropriately. One of the reasons why we're able to open that second floor in healthcare on Monday is because we are now fully staffed there. So it has been a challenge for a few months, but we have been able to figure that out, work through it. And one of the best recruiting tactics that we have is our residents. this is an industry unlike any other, where we are working where you live. And that's honestly part of the magic. And our employees will say that all the time. It's the residents who make the difference. That's why I want to work here. So we've totally kind of shifted some of our advertising and recruiting efforts, but we are in a much better place than we were a few months ago. But never lost hope there. I knew we would get to where we needed to be, and because this truly is, for me personally, the best place I've ever worked. So what's next for us? Now we're looking at, we're coming up on our second birthday, and what do we have ahead? So in the middle of 2020, we actually purchased an additional 20 acres of land that's on the other side of Stone Quarry Drive. So if you're familiar with our entryway, you pull in and our community is off to the right-hand side, and we purchase all of the land adjacent to us. We've been in talks for a while about what we would do there. And certainly, again, with some COVID stuff, we had to put that on the back burner for a little bit. But our goal is always, we are a mission-driven organization. We want to continue to serve older adults. We want to continue to provide opportunities for our residents. So we're still talking about what to do with that land, but at least we have peace of mind that we own that. We're also really looking to strengthen and create new relationships with UNH. That has been active on our minds since before we opened. I think about 20% of our resident population either went to UNH or taught at UNH. And many of our residents will frequently remind me, once a wildcat, always a wildcat. So a lot of our residents do love, going to games, going to theatrical events, going to concerts, lectures. So now that the world has opened up a little bit more, we're really looking for new partnerships, ways to bring some UNH into our community, and ways for us to get our residents to the UNH campus. And then the last thing that we're focused on now is some future resident involvement. So some of you, we've tossed around the idea of trying to build a program where some of our waitlisters can come and, take a fitness class or attend an event here. So that is tops of our mind too, of how to just really invite you into the community more too. So that's sort of where we are and what's next for us. And so now I want to just open it back up to questions, and Sherry's going to hop back on.
Thank you, Kim. That was wonderful. And it has spurred a couple of questions. And then we had a couple sent in as well. We'll start with a question about our team members and our vaccination requirements.
Sure. So the vaccination requirements, we are requiring that all employees are fully vaccinated. We cannot, however, discriminate based on if someone does have a medical or documented religious exemption. And anybody who did have a medical or religious exemption had to get approval from our HR department on that. But it is a requirement to work here, and we tell all new team members too, they do have to be fully vaccinated to come to work.
Thank you. And also a question, when you were referencing our residents, and there were several of them who were away for several months this year, what is the, how does it work for a offsite credit?
Sure. So if our residents are here and they want to go to a summer home or away, if they're out of the community for 30 days or longer, they will receive an offsite credit against their monthly service fee. So certainly we do have quite a few residents who use that service to be able to get that discount. And another part that ties into that is our residents are on a meal point system. So they get a set number of points to use in dining per month. If a resident is off-site, they do have the opportunity to roll over a certain number of points so that they don't feel like they're missing out there.
Yeah. And that's something new for some of you who have attended our online open houses in the past. Points prior to July of this year did not roll over, but now up to 200 points per person can roll forward. So if you're away less than that 30-day period that Kim is describing, you're not losing the value of those dining credits. And on that note, I would we're going to get to this in a moment. We do have an event coming up next week, which we call our online open house. We'll go into detail on how dining works. And also we'll talk, and there are two questions now about our wait list. So I'll jump right into that if I may right now. There was a question that came in via email in regards to how long it's taking to get an apartment if you're on the wait list. That's variable to the apartment style you're interested in. Our 1-bedroom with Den Ellis apartment and our 1-bedroom Kachiko apartment, we have, those are the apartment styles that we have the most of in terms of a category. And we have had people come off of the wait list who have been on for a year or less. And that's because there are others ahead of them, deposit wise, who aren't quite ready yet, which rolls right into Bonnie's question about if you defer and aren't ready. So let me just back up a little bit and I'll answer all of your question now, Bonnie. The process for the wait list is that once you have decided that RiverWoods Durham is your community and you've completed the financial qualification, you'd make a deposit of 10% of the entrance fee of the apartment style that you're interested in. And you let us know up front that your timeline is 3 years out or 4 years out, or as soon as something is available, whatever it is for you. We're not going to be calling you with an apartment offer prior to you being ready to receive it. This then, eliminates that worry of what if I decline an apartment, do I go to the bottom of the list? So we do work with you very closely to make sure that it is a process that will work for you. In terms of the typical wait time for admission, right now we are estimating for our 2-bedroom apartment styles, 2 or more years. For some apartments, it could be as many as 3 years, including our smallest 1-bedroom apartment. So the time is now to make a plan so that when you are ready to make the move, you're in a position on the wait list to be, in line to be receiving an offered apartment. And Jane asked about, can waitlisters get the monthly newsletter? So thus far, Jane, we have been taking some information from the resident newsletter and including it in our regular e-newsletters. There are resident emails and telephone numbers in the resident newsletter, so we haven't been in a position to send it out in full, but I will continue to share that with the resident group to see if this is something that we can make available. And if someone is a future resident, we're more likely to be able to share that with you. Future resident being somebody who's on the wait list. Let's see, let me see what else I had for email questions. We covered the staffing very well, and I will tell you that Kim has been very, very engaged in the various work groups that have been established across the Riverwood family of communities at looking at this staffing challenge that is not a 2021 problem. It is a problem for the decades ahead. And we recognize that at RiverWoods and are very proactive in terms of recognizing the importance of developing a stable work team here and for our future growth. So I commend you and all that you're doing and the involvement you've had in making that happen. It's one of the reasons we talk about, in a number of our different presentations, the idea that, well, I can just stay at home and bring help in. As an individual, stay-at-home person trying to bring the help in on your own, it's going to become more and more challenging as the years go along. So strength and community. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. I don't think we have any unanswered questions at the moment. Anything, Kim, that you would like to wrap with?
Just again, thank you for the time this afternoon. And I love doing these Zoom events because we can certainly reach out to more people, but I really love the opportunity to meet you in person too. So I know Sherry keeps me up to date on all of our events, and when those are in person or just the opportunity to meet, have a cup of coffee, I love to get to know you too. Certainly as you're thinking about joining our community, our strength is in relationships. So I look forward to meeting all of you at some point.
We very much will be returning, I hope, in the spring to in-person events. And yes, and then you'll be able to meet Kim in person as well as some of the community itself. So as I mentioned earlier, we have an online open house next Wednesday afternoon. This is an in-depth look inside the community at the amenities and features. We'll talk in detail about dining and the wait list and the different apartment floor plans. So if you're interested, please go to our website and sign up under resources online workshop. And we will hope to see you then on Zoom once again next Wednesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. Want to thank you all for joining us. And if there's any questions that we didn't cover fully, please just reach out to us via email. Therese Lane, my colleague, Jenny Marks, my colleague, we're here and available to assist you with all of your questions. And we look forward to welcoming you to RiverWoods Durham. Thank you. Have a great day.
Sherry.